In the dead of night, a warehouse seemed to breathe. Its rusted beams groaned like a warning, hidden behind fog so thick it swallowed everything around it. Most people would drive past without looking twice, ignoring the silence. But one dog didn't. One bark shattered the stillness, loud and sharp. And what that dog uncovered would haunt an entire town. This is the story of Ace, a K-9 hero who didn't follow orders, he followed his instincts. And deep inside the shadows, he found a secret no one was ever supposed to discover. Stay with us, because what you're about to hear, you'll never forget. It was 4:47 a.m., the kind of hour when everything feels too still. A silence so deep, even the streetlights looked tired. Officer Emma Thompson was wrapping up her shift, driving her usual patrol route with her K-9 partner, Ace. They'd taken a detour through an industrial zone, a place most people forgot existed, just old warehouses, sagging fences, and rusted gates. The fog was thick, rolling like a blanket across the cracked pavement. Emma sipped her coffee, thinking of home. But Ace, sitting upright in the passenger seat, was alert. His ears twitched. His nose lifted, sniffing the air. Then suddenly, without warning, he growled low and barked sharply. It wasn't his usual bark, it had urgency in it. Something was wrong. Emma slowed the cruiser near the Willock storage facility, an old, fenced-off property that had been abandoned for years. She followed Ace's lead as he leapt out of the car and ran toward a side entrance of the warehouse. Emma called out, "What is it, boy?" But Ace didn't wait. He was barking, digging his paws against the door like he was trying to get inside. Emma's instincts kicked in. She knew that bark. It wasn't about drugs or suspects. This bark meant fear. And Ace was never afraid. Her hand hovered near her holster. She took out her flashlight and slowly pushed the rusted door open. It creaked loudly, the sound echoing through the empty lot. Inside, the air was cold. Dust floated through the light beams like tiny ghosts. Old crates, broken pallets, and tools lay scattered. But Ace wasn't interested in any of that. He sprinted forward, nose low, tail stiff, barking harder now. Emma followed him across the concrete floor, her boots crunching on bits of glass. Then she heard it. A soft sound. A muffled moan, barely there. She froze. Her flashlight shook slightly in her hand. Ace had stopped in front of a metal door, bolted shut with 4 large screws. It wasn't locked, it was sealed. Someone wanted this door to stay closed. Emma dropped to her knees and started unscrewing the bolts with her pocket tool. Ace stood beside her, trembling. His eyes were wide, his breathing fast. The last bolt fell, and Emma slowly opened the door. What she saw made her breath catch in her throat. There, lying on the ground among old insulation rolls, was a woman. Young. Maybe 25. Her face pale, her eyes barely open. She was very pregnant. Her wrists and ankles were tied. Her shirt clung to her body, soaked in sweat. Her lips moved, but no words came out. Emma dropped beside her, grabbed her radio, and called for medical backup. Female victim, late pregnancy, signs of dehydration. "She's alive," Emma said, her voice tight with shock. As Emma cut the ropes from the woman's hands, she whispered, "You're safe now. We've got you." But the woman shook her head slowly and whispered something chilling. "He said no one would find me." Emma froze. She looked at Ace. He was still barking lowly, pacing in circles, like something was still wrong. The warehouse wasn't done giving up its secrets. And this woman's nightmare was only the beginning. Rain tapped gently against the cruiser windshield as Emma stared at the new evidence laid out before her, photos, ledgers, hard drives. It felt surreal. Just 24 hours ago, this case was a simple patrol check, a foggy warehouse, and a barking dog. Now, it was something much darker. The ledger found in Michael Dawson's home connected his company, RDS Logistics, to another name, Sanctum Corporation. A shell organization. And linked to it, like a thread running through every dirty dollar, was Senator Frank Whitmore's Future Families Initiative. Emma's chest tightened as she realized what they had stumbled into wasn't just a trafficking case, it was a nationwide operation. Sanctum Corp, disguised as a family charity, was moving millions. And the warehouses weren't just isolated incidents. There were more. Dozens, maybe hundreds. The FBI followed the trail: Dallas, Orlando, Sacramento, Detroit. Each location had one thing in common: an abandoned warehouse near an RDS distribution hub. She returned to the Willocks warehouse with Ace, her most trusted partner. As they walked through the now empty space, Ace stopped again. His ears perked. His body stiffened. Then, a low growl. He sniffed around a stack of insulation panels, circling, then digging. Emma joined him. Together, they found a trapdoor, nearly invisible beneath the flooring. When they opened it, a stench hit like a slap. The air below was damp, metallic. Emma descended slowly, flashlight in one hand, pistol in the other. What she found was not just a basement, it was a control room. A place built for observation. Surveillance monitors lined one wall, all black and white feeds. Some showed locked rooms. Others, just women pacing. All of them pregnant. All of them alone. There were binders too. Each labeled with names, medical histories, blood types, due dates. On a dusty desk sat a single item that broke Emma's heart, a baby blanket, folded neatly, as if waiting for someone who never arrived. On one of the monitors, a video looped. A woman stared into the camera, her face bruised, her eyes red. She spoke directly into the lens. "My name is Elena Carter. I was taken from Oklahoma. Please, help my baby." Then the screen went black. Emma rushed back to the station and handed the evidence to the FBI. What they found was staggering: contracts signed under aliases, medical invoices billed to fake clinics, adoption records with no children ever delivered. It was a perfectly crafted web of lies. But the pieces were starting to unravel. Rachel's testimony helped connect the dots. She told the FBI about Michael's assistant, Tara Kim. A woman she had once trusted, who scheduled her doctor's visits, arranged car pickups, even brought her prenatal vitamins. But Rachel remembered something: Tara knew things no one else should. Like when her contractions started 2 weeks early, and Michael hadn't been home. Emma tracked Tara to a downtown co-working space. When questioned, Tara tried to run. But Ace was faster. He caught her within seconds. Barking, growling, holding her by the ankle until backup arrived. Under pressure, Tara confessed. She told them everything. There was another ledger, hidden in Michael's Aspen house. Behind a grand piano in a private music room. It had everything. Names, account numbers, adoption brokers, even judges. It was the proof they needed. The FBI raided the Aspen home the next morning. Inside, they found the ledger, along with something far worse. A shallow grave behind the garden shed. A body. Elena Carter. Emma couldn't breathe when she heard the name. The woman from the video. The one who asked for help. She was too late, for Elena. But she wasn't too late for the others. What began as a dog's bark had uncovered a criminal empire. But Emma knew the work wasn't done. They had evidence. They had names. But now, they needed justice. And the man sitting at the top, Senator Whitmore, was protected by power, money, and secrets. But Emma wasn't backing down. The air was thick with tension. After days of raids and revelations, Emma Thompson knew one thing clearly: this wasn't just a case anymore, it was a war against shadows. And the next move could cost her everything. A tip had just come in from a confidential informant. A new warehouse. Rural. Remote. Likely connected to the Sanctum Corp network. No time to wait for backup. Emma grabbed her vest, clipped on her badge, and called out to Ace. He leapt into the cruiser like he already knew. The road ahead was slick with rain, the sky above an iron gray. An hour later, Emma pulled up to a rundown property on the edge of nowhere. Fences fallen, security lights busted, and not a single sound except the low growl rising in Ace's throat. This place felt wrong. Too quiet. Too still. She unholstered her weapon and stepped forward, flashlight in hand. The warehouse loomed like a monster in the dark, no windows, no signage, just shadows swallowing the corners. Ace took the lead. He sniffed the ground, then froze near the entry. Emma's heart pounded. He barked, once, sharp and urgent. They stepped inside. The door creaked shut behind them, and suddenly, the floor beneath Emma gave way. A trap. She fell hard, 10 feet, maybe more, landing in a concrete pit. Pain shot through her shoulder. Her radio was smashed. The flashlight cracked. Above her, the ceiling closed. Then a voice echoed through hidden speakers. Distorted. Cold. "You should have stayed out of this, Officer Thompson. You've disrupted our deliveries." Emma winced. She tried to climb, but the walls were too smooth. She looked up and saw Ace, still above, barking wildly. 2 shadows appeared near him, armed men trying to grab him. But Ace attacked. Teeth bared, he lunged. One man screamed. The other slipped on the wet floor. In the pit, Emma spotted a ventilation grate, small, but not impossible. She dragged herself toward it, ignoring the throb in her shoulder. Gripping the edge, she pulled herself into the shaft and crawled through metal and dust, scraping her knees with every inch. Finally, a hatch. She kicked it open and rolled out into the night air. Just then, sirens wailed in the distance. Backup had arrived. The FBI stormed the warehouse, guns drawn. Inside, they found more than just a trap. They uncovered padded cells, empty bassinets, and shelves lined with passports, all belonging to missing women. They had been preparing for another round of trafficking. Another delivery. But not this time. Emma limped toward the ambulance, where a medic checked her arm. She refused to sit. Her eyes scanned the scene as agents poured out of the building with evidence in hand. This was the break they needed. Proof of ongoing operations. Locations. Victims. Logistics. All tied directly to Sanctum Corp, and indirectly, to Senator Whitmore. But even now, Emma knew it wasn't over. Not yet. The operation was collapsing, yes, but the man at the top was still untouched. Powerful. Dangerous. And very much alive. Back at the precinct, soaked in sweat and rain, Emma sat with the lead FBI agent. They connected the dots. The raid had revealed internal communications, encrypted emails linking the warehouse directly to Whitmore's foundation. And thanks to Tara's earlier confession, they had a map of all remaining locations across the country. They had what they needed to act. But it had to be fast. Before Whitmore disappeared behind his money and lawyers. Before the trail went cold again. Emma placed her hand on Ace's back. He leaned into her leg, eyes sharp, waiting for the next command. She whispered, "You ready, partner?" Ace gave a soft bark. It was time. The air was still, but the weight in the room was heavy. The Capitol building, usually filled with polished shoes and rehearsed speeches, now held something much more real, truth. Emma Thompson stood at the doorway of Senator Frank Whitmore's private office. Her badge glinted under the overhead lights. Ace stood beside her, alert but calm, as if he too understood the gravity of what was about to happen. Across the room, Senator Whitmore sat behind his massive oak desk, a calm smile on his lips, but his eyes twitched with fear. The FBI agent stepped forward. "One, read the warrant." Emma's voice followed, firm but steady. "Senator Frank Whitmore, you are under federal investigation for human trafficking, conspiracy, and obstruction of justice. You are no longer above the law." The cuffs snapped on. For a moment, the senator didn't speak. Then, with a bitter laugh, he whispered, "You're too late. Cut off the head, and another grows." Emma leaned in close. "Not for the ones we saved." The trial that followed shook the entire nation. Rachel Dawson, the woman rescued from the warehouse, stood in court, her voice trembling but strong. Alongside her were other survivors, women who had been locked away, hidden, forgotten. They spoke of pain, of loss, but also of survival. Of freedom. The evidence was overwhelming: USB files, ledgers, video footage, contracts, even graves. Senator Whitmore was sentenced to life in prison without parole. Sanctum Corp collapsed overnight. Over 30 co-conspirators were arrested, and nearly 100 women were rescued from warehouses across the country. Their babies, too, were brought to safety. Emma visited Rachel months later in a quiet coastal town. The sea breeze danced through the open windows, and little Grace, Rachel's daughter, ran across the yard, chasing butterflies with a toy stethoscope around her neck. "She wants to be a vet," Rachel smiled, watching her child laugh in the sun. Emma chuckled, "Better than being a cop." Rachel reached out and gripped Emma's hand. "You gave us our lives back." Emma shook her head. "You saved yourself." Ace just barked. Back at the precinct, Ace now wore a custom gold badge stitched into his collar. He had become the face of a new K9 task force, training with other dogs to find and rescue victims of trafficking. Emma was promoted to lead that very unit. But even now, some nights, she lay awake thinking about the women still out there, still waiting to be found. One day, a letter arrived at the station. No return address. Just a single sentence. "You're not done. We're still out here." Emma read it twice, then looked at Ace. He was already standing by the door, tail stiff, eyes locked on her like he'd been waiting for the next mission. The rain began to fall. The world outside was quiet. But inside, something had changed. One bark had started this story. One bark had saved lives. And one bark would keep them going. If this story moved you, if it opened your eyes to the power of loyalty, courage, and the silent heroes among us, please consider subscribing to our channel, K9 Miracle Stories. Every subscription helps us bring more stories like this to light, real tales of canine courage, compassion, and justice. Like this video if you believe dogs truly are heroes. Share it with someone who needs to know these stories exist. And here's a question just for you. Backhand index pointing right, do you think every police force should have a K9 unit like Ace? Why or why not? Drop your answer in the comments. We read every single one. Because sometimes, it only takes one bark to change everything.